Okay, so good morning. Welcome back to week 6. It means that tomorrow, I mean next week, we will have week 7 and then you will have UTS, yeah? And today's discussion is about film adaptation. So I'm sure that you have already watched or already known about film adaptation. Probably you watch a movie and then the movie is written there. It is based on a novel or it is based on a short story or even a poem, right? Okay, try to probably remember what kind of film adaptation is based on the novel. There are lots of movie based on the novel, and then how about short story? Is there any film being adapted from the short story or even poem? Can you imagine poem i- is written and then it is adapted to be a movie? Must be lots of films, example of films that happen from the poem. Right, so what is film adaptation? What is the meaning of adaptation? So here is a transfer of a written work in a whole or in a part of a feature film. So it means that this is a transfer of a written work to a feature film. And the next question is, what is feature? So here, feature is a type of derivative work. Derivative work means it has already been exist. So it means, for example, the translation, the musical arrangement. So in musical arrangement, for example, in a certain film, you might ever heard about the movie, the music before, and it is part of the music adaptation. And then also use of a novel or a fiction. Yes, that is a must. Is a novel or a fiction or non-fiction or a biography even. And then use of a autobiography, comic books, scriptures, plays, or historical sources. So here feature means, so it is like transferring the written work into a feature film. So how to adapt? How to adapt a movie? Here, in adapting a print text or theater production to film, directors can stick quite close to the original text to create a highly literature, a highly literal reproduction of the text, or they can create a totally different version of the original text. Yeah, so there are two ways to adapt a film. The first one is to stick quite close to the original text to create a highly literal reproduction of the text. So it means that if you ever watch the movie and then you ever read the literally work before, you can see that there is no big difference among between these two work. um yeah, the big difference of course is about cinematography, the character or the uh actor and the actress who played this movie, right? But somehow you might be disappointed because when you read a novel before and then you create your own imagination about the characters, and then later on this novel is adapted into a movie, and then you see that the actors actually doesn't match with your own imagination. Can be happen, right? Or it is vice versa. You start with watching the movie and then you go back to you are very curious to read the novel or the short story or the poem, and then you go back to the literary work, and it turns out that you have more imagination, or even you got stuck before you have started to watch the movie first. Jadi intinya adalah kadang-kadang kalau kita ini membaca novelnya dulu atau membaca karya sastranya dulu, kemudian menonton filmnya, kadang-kadang kita merasa kecewa. Oh, ternyata imajinasinya beda dengan saya yang ketika saya baca. Atau ketika kalian menonton filmnya dulu, kemudian kalian merasa penasaran dengan membaca bukunya gitu ya. Kemudian imajinasi kalian juga jadi stuck karena sudah dipenuhi oleh imajinasi yang sudah ada di TV, yang sudah ada di film. And then the second ways is they can create a totally different version of the original text. Nah, I'm sure that you have ever watched a movie, and then before watch the movie, you read the literary work, and then it is quite different, totally different. Even the name of the character, even the even the situation, even the setting of place, setting of time can be very different. But then the main focus is quite the same. Jadi misalnya setting of place-nya itu berbeda dengan apa yang disampaikan di novel, tetapi di filmnya dijadikan apa namanya, beda dengan tempat yang ada di novel, tetapi nanti karakternya tetap misalnya sama, namanya tetap sama. Atau bisa berbeda tetapi yang dijelaskan nama karakternya itu sama seperti yang dijelaskan di novel. Jadi ini seperti perpaduan antara author in the novel and then creativity of the director to create a movie. It is okay. Jadi nggak harus plek sama seperti yang ada di buku. Now here there are 3 ways actually to adapt the movie. Yes, to adapt the literary work into a feature movie. So the first one is a loose adaptation. Loose adaptation means the director may only use the original situation, story, idea, or characters. Here bears little resemblance to the original text. Jadi di sini artinya kalau loose itu jadinya nggak terlalu strict sama seperti yang di novel atau yang di short story atau yang di drama atau yang di poem ya, intinya karya sastra ya. Di sini tapi si sutradaranya boleh pakai original situation, right? Story idea, jadi or characters. Jadi kita ngambil Hamlet aja, for example, in a very popular story drama in Shakespeare, right? By Shakespeare. Kita cuman ambil karakternya aja Hamlet, karakter dia seperti apa, characterization-nya itu seperti apa, kemudian kita ambil menjadi film yang benar berbeda, tetapi karakternya itu seperti karakter yang ada di Hamlet Shakespeare. It is okay, itu juga boleh. Kemudian the second one is a literal adaptation. So it means that it is from older video version or of play productions, limited use of cinematic technology and television usually from BBC. Nah, ini sebenarnya sekarang sudah dikembangkan ya. Jadi adaptation itu not only karya sastra menjadi film, tetapi juga from the previous movie itself to be the newest version. Ya, salah satunya banyak ya, pasti kalian juga sudah tahu ada misalnya kalau di Indonesia ada Susana itu dari Susana tahun berapa, 90-an, kemudian di-remake lagi karakternya oleh Luna Maya. Tetapi ada tetapinya di sini. Ternyata ketika kita itu mengadapt the previous movies, the old movies, it turns out there are some rules. Jadi kalau kebanyakan kalian menonton film adaptation from the previous film, the old version of the previous film, you may find out that the plot story might be different, or the setting of place might be briefly different. Jadi tetap ada perbedaannya. Ternyata tidak boleh sama. Even ya kalau dari judul can be the same ya. Di sini, for example, the most popular English literature written by Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, for example. Jadi Pride and Prejudice itu bahkan sudah diadapt dari film, dari buku, dari novel, kemudian dibikin filmnya di tahun awal-awal 1930-an, kemudian ada lagi 1995. Colin Firth yang main. Kemudian di tahun 2005 ada juga Keira Knightley yang memerankan Pride and Prejudice. Kemudian selain itu mereka juga ada TV seriesnya. Dan lucunya lagi, saking Pride and Prejudice ini sangat famous begitu, kemudian diadapt di beberapa versi yang lain. Contohnya ada bukunya, justru ada buku adaptation juga, book adaptation itu telling about Pride and Prejudice zombie version. Jadi ceritanya itu dibikin semacam konteksnya konteks zombie begitu. Kemudian di drama Korea juga saya pernah menemukan ada judul Pride and Prejudice. Anyway, ketika saya menonton awal-awalnya, it turns out that the plot story is not the same as the book or even the previous movies before. So it means that the Korean drama itself is only adapting the title of the most popular literary work by Jane Austen. Jadi tetap yang namanya ada beberapa judul yang memang harus mau nggak mau memang harus refer ke penulis utamanya karena saking terkenalnya ya. Contohnya Pride and Prejudice itu ya. Jadi kalau nanti di Indonesia ada yang membuat judul Pride and Prejudice itu sudah langsung orang-orang langsung tahu itu pasti adaptation dari novelnya si Jane Austen for example. Walaupun di bahasa Indonesia kan. The third one is a faithful adaptation. Faithful adaptation here means recapture the original text as closely as possible. It means that the content can be strictly the same as the literary work that is being adapted. A careful translation of the original into film and retains the character storylines and most events. Jadi di sini hampir-hampir sama. Ya pasti kalau di buku misalnya ada 1000 halaman ya misalnya for example Harry Potter, right? It turns out to be only 2 hours up to 3 hours movie, so it can be there are lots of cutting scene, right? Jadi kalau di Harry Potter itu sampai 7 buku begitu. 6 buku dan itu tebal-tebal semuanya, itu pastinya juga nggak akan sedetail itu di film, tetapi paling nggak plot story-nya itu tetap nyambung, tetap plug dengan apa yang ada di buku, hanya beberapa scene saja yang di-cut yang mungkin tidak terlalu semuanya signifikan tapi dicari yang the most significant scene in Harry Potter. Right, another adaptation ya. So tadi saya sudah mengatakan ya ada beberapa film. Nah di sini ada British literature. It turns out being adapted by American movies. Jadi ada beberapa ya karya sastra Inggris asli itu dijadikan film dan itu filmnya itu dibuat oleh orang Amerika. So it is kind of the adaptation from British literature becoming American movies. There are lots of examples. The Lord of the Rings by J.J.R. Tolkien. It is obviously a British literary work, but then it is being produced by American director. So American movie production. So Harry Potter, Twilight, and then in this Twilight isn't even the song titled Claire de Lune is adapted from the musical theater. Jadi dibikin sebagai original soundtrack di Twilight, tapi itu juga semacam musical adaptation from the musical theater. Sherlock Holmes, there are lots of version of Sherlock Holmes, yeah. Although the the actors or the actress are from British actor and actress, but then yeah, somehow it is called as an American movie because it is Hollywood standard. The Boy in the Street Pajamas and Wuthering Heights, and then Romeo Juliet 50 films adaptation. Can you imagine kalau di Indonesia sendiri ada Romeo dan Yuli gitu ya. Jadi and then Romeo and Juliet in every different version. Also there are lots of example on that. Yeah, it is what I have said earlier, Pride and Prejudice in 1995. It turns out in the previous movie there is a 1930 something and 2005. There are lots of review to compare between 1995 version and 2005 version. Pride and Prejudice here is the original version of British literature being adapted in a movie, and then Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice here is the adaptation from the Pride and Prejudice, but then Pride and Prejudice here is the location or the setting of place is in India, so Indian culture. So you can imagine that British Pride and Prejudice here is Indian culture, while Pride and Prejudice here is British culture. Pride and Prejudice in Korean drama, and it is totally different with Pride and Prejudice in British and Pride and Prejudice in India. Yeah. So So what is actually to adapt? Jadi ada apa saja bagian yang bisa diadaptasi? Ya tadi itu tidak bisa semuanya diadaptasi, bisa hanya sebagian elemen saja yang diadaptasi. Ya contohnya adalah time frame, setting of time, and then narrator, character and characterization, plot and subplot, and the last one is music or the theme song. Jadi misalnya mau mengadaptasi, ya ini keluar dari konteks, misalnya music ya, ada musical theater, opera theater, kemudian mau bikin film romantis gitu bisa diambil dari theatrical music tadi. Kemudian mau ngambil karakternya aja, saya suka yang namanya Frankenstein, karakternya Frankenstein. Oke, ambil aja. Termasuk juga characterization-nya ya, bagaimana dia itu apa namanya sebagai seorang uh, manusia yang dibikin oleh manusia lain yang tadinya sebenarnya udah menjadi body, menjadi mayat, kemudian dihidupkan lagi. Kemudian bagaimana karakteristiknya itu, apakah dia itu serem, apakah dia menjadi monster, nah itu tetap dipakai. Cuma nanti plot ceritanya, story plotnya bisa can be different from the from the original version in the novel. Right, and then how successful is the film adaptation? Nah, biasanya kadang-kadang kita compare sih ya. Jadi tadi yang Pride and Prejudice 1995 ke yang 2005 itu apa yang menarik perhatian, apa yang menjadikan film itu sukses. Nah, biasanya itu tuh ada keunikannya tersendiri. Di tahun 95 keunikannya adalah oh ya karakternya lebih dapat. Kemudian yang di 2005 ternyata apa namanya setting of place-nya itu lebih ngena banget karena mungkin sinematografinya sudah oke, kemudian CGI-nya juga sudah berkembang daripada the previous story. Kemudian juga music or theme song. Mulan, for example. Mulan yang the previous movie of Mulan can be the title of the original soundtrack is Reflection, right? And it is being remade by the same, even the same singer, and then the same lyric, but then it is still a different concept. Jadi karena si Mulan ini original soundtracknya dinyanyikan oleh Christina Aguilera di tahun berapa ya 19 sekian itu dia masih 17 tahun kemudian suaranya juga akan berubah di Mulan yang sekarang dia usianya udah 40-an tahun dan juga apa namanya aransemen lagunya juga ada gitu. Kemudian dialog adaptation juga ada beberapa versi kalau kalian itu mengutip beberapa dialog di film itu menjadi viral gitu ya. Padahal di previous filmnya nggak terlalu viral. Nah itu juga menjadi ciri kesuksesan salah satu film adaptation. Inner thoughts, narrator adaptation, and then also narrator tone. Jadi narasinya, si narasi yang sebelum film belum dialog itu juga ternyata penting untuk kesuksesan dari film adaptation ini. So that's all for this week 6 material. So thank you for listening and see you next week for our last meeting with me. Because after UTS you will have another lecturer, yeah. And then I would like to kindly inform you that on Saturday, October the 17th, there will be a seminar on movie analysis. I will inform you later because it is via Zoom and then it is will be joined by you as the member of this movie analysis class, and then probably it can be go to public, but then I will discuss it later with this keynote speaker. Yeah. So thank you for listening and see you next week. Bye bye.